Start.
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting is called to order at 5:36 p.m. Everyone is present except for Courtney Crawford. Recommendations and requests. Approval of the minutes of executive session. The board did meet in executive session and discuss personnel in accordance to Indiana Code at 5 p.m. It is recommended that the minutes of the regular public meeting of July 15th, 2025 be approved with any additional corrections and deletes or deletions as recommended by the board. Got a motion? Bill?
Second.
Jonathan? Vote. 5-0. 6-0. Yeah, so. Public participation.
We got Commander Hunsaker from Tower Feaster here tonight. And she just, I sent you guys her letter this afternoon. You want to hook your laptop up if you like.
What the works,
Hope it
right?
works here. Let's see.
Must be this one. Oops.
If you want to sit, there's a chair there to reach, so don't be seated too.
Let's see if technology will do my thing today. It was not earlier, so I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed.
It looks like it's working.
Can you see it?
It's warming up, so it should here in just a second. And I can turn it off.
I can
see
I see it. I don't see it. I need my glasses. Let me just. So I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to the firm. I'm Amanda Hunsaker. I'm a principal with Tower Feaster. Some of you may be familiar with Covert Hawkins Architects. I don't know if that sounds familiar to anybody or not, but we're a firm based in Jeffersonville, architecture only, architecture and interior design. And we merged with Tower Feaster in 2021, which is a full service firm. So we have in-house engineering and interior design and architecture. So I'm based out of our Albany office, so just about an hour away. And then we also have 3 offices in Michigan, so just based in the Midwest. A couple of things. You guys see that location? It seems a little small. We do have, we cover several different market sectors, but our primary focus is K-12 education. It's about 65% of our work. The other disciplines that we cover, we feel like provides good balance to the firm, good diversity, but also allows us some experience that we can draw from to pull in for our K-12 projects. Just give us a different type of experience that we can pull from. Like I mentioned, we have, sorry guys, architecture, engineering, interior design, landscape architecture, technology and security, and master planning, a service that we feel like has been beneficial for many school corporations doing master planning or facility assessments. So we come through and do a walkthrough analysis of your current buildings and analyze their current state, put together recommendations for future projects, just to kind of give you maybe a 10-year projection, things that should be on your radar for consideration. This just goes into a little bit more detail. I won't read it to you, but it goes into a little bit more detail about some of the services that we offer. So just goes into a bit more detail there. A couple of other services that we offer. We do furniture design, furniture procurement. We can put out public bid packages, so we get competitive bid pricing on that. And then we also offer technology services, technology design, not a service to come here and be a regular vendor for you, but we do technology and security design. We feel like that's something that is a differentiator between us and a lot of our competition, is it's a very specialized expertise for us that we feel like is really beneficial for a lot of school clients. So that's all I have on the presentation for you. Do you guys have any questions that I can answer?
While we're at that point,
Mhm.
I noticed in the proposal, there's some excluded items.
Mhm.
Furniture, design, layout, that's a separate item.
For the particular project that I wrote the proposal for, it is. We always take into consideration when we're laying out spaces, take into consideration how furniture will fit in the space. That way we can make sure that it's functional, especially when we're talking about office layouts. The furniture layout is very important to make sure they're functional. But we don't, in this proposal, we did not include bidding out a furniture package.
So that's why it's mentioned as an excluded item.
Correct.
Would the same answer apply to like fire suppression and some other things that I saw on the exclusion list?
There are a couple of things in there. The fire suppression can be included. We could do the design. Where we say it's excluded really comes down to, we don't do the layout or the permits for it. We leave that to the sprinkler contractor to do, which is
Well, that's
very typical.
And with my uninformed status, we have to please the fire marshal.
Absolutely.
So I just wasn't sure exactly where that came in.
Mhm.
Okay.
If there's a fire suppression system in the building, we would design to tie into that
To tie
existing
into.
system. Yes. We just don't put together detailed shop drawings and things for a sprinkler system.
Do you, part of this, you prepare a bid package, right?
Mhm.
Would the sprinkler system be a part of the bid package?
Yes.
So all that design work and installation would be part of, if we took bids? would be part of
Yes, it would be part
that.
of
Well,
that.
sure, it would be that.
Yes, I'm sorry if that was confusing. Yeah, it really just means a detailed layout. So we put together what we could call a diagrammatic drawing that shows the areas that would be covered by fire suppression. We know what type of system it is and how it's tied in. We just don't say put a sprinkler head here, put a sprinkler head here. We leave that up to the fire suppression contractor to make sure that they get adequate coverage.
But at some point, you're coordinating in some shape or form to see that happens.
Yes.
Well, then I noticed there was no general estimate. So how do we know what it might cost us?
That's something that we do put together because we feel like for your financial planning, you'll need to know roughly how much it costs.
So that is part of your service.
It is.
So I've only glanced at this. I didn't see it in the email. How did you, the size of the project of this, the cost that you gave us, is there a breakdown of how you come to that cost?
There is, I didn't put it into the letter proposal, but we run the numbers a couple of different ways. Our fee is really broken down by phase.
Mhm.
So we broke on the proposal, we have it broken out by schematic design, design development, and construction documents. So that's just the basically different levels of detail that we get into on the design of the project. So of our fee, schematic design is 15%. Design development, which is the next phase, is 30%, and construction documents is 30%. 5% is for bidding and negotiations, so that's what we do, the step we go into once we receive or put it for the project out for quotes or bids. Answer questions during that phase, put together a letter of recommendation, and then the last phase is construction administration, which is 20%.
Can you share that detail with us? Can you give us a
I
copy
can.
of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the general estimate, what part of the project is that general estimate come in
We would do that at each phase.
at? Each phase, okay.
Yeah, we like to do that, just a preliminary estimate, which is a little bit more of a guess, right? Because we haven't gotten into a lot of details yet. You know, things like, what the carpet that's in the, would be in the offices or a hard surface flooring. There's a lot of different variables that go into, you know, is it a $5 a yard carpet or an $8 a yard carpet? So we make some guesstimates, as best that we can. And then as we get into a bit more detail, we would refine those estimates, just to make sure we're aligned with your expectations and what you want to spend on the project.
So if you bring in the first general estimate and it's so high that we say, oh no, we can't do this. Will we be on the hook to the full amount?
No,
Okay, we should be that percentage for that.
for wherever we are within the project, you just be responsible for that portion.
So that, but in that detail you give us, we would kind of know what that's going to
Yes,
be.
yes, that will help.
Because that's the question, is
Okay.
how much do we have to pay you before we figure out if we can even do this project? Right,
I realize this is not a big project, but we're asking questions, trying to learn.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Driving in, the gym was built in the late 50s, and this is a small project, but is there any discussion of asbestos surge or asbestos removal?
The possibility of asbestos,
And of course, that I think is one of the excluded
it is.
items.
We don't do environmental testing. We have a couple of vendors that we have worked with. So if we anticipate or expect that we might come across something, like I know you guys have done other projects in the past, if you said, well, we did this project on the other side of the building and we did find asbestos, then we would reach out to, with your permission, of course, reach out to those vendors, ask them to come in and do a test, send that off to the lab, and they would get the results.
So to be repetitive, you'll be involved in the process, but you're not the principal provider of the service.
Correct. We do not offer that type of testing,
that would be an
And we-
add-on.
but not under our,
I understand,
so you would
yeah,
work.
we'd have to
they would
engage a
work-
different vendor, but you have vendors that you could recommend.
Yes, absolutely.
And we do have, we work with currently, and they do reports. We just had our asbestos report done last February. So, you know. we
You have
probably-
to have a report on
Yeah.
file.
Yeah, so we probably would tap into their expertise is what I'd say.
You know, definitely wouldn't be uncommon to come across something like that. So we could take a look at your report if you're able to share that with us and see if we see any red flags that we might want to have tested. We don't do the abatement if something comes back as positive. We don't do that abatement either.
But this is a project that we would, you know, if you make some assumptions here that we want to proceed on, that we want to quickly get done because of how we would pay for it, is that an issue?
No,
To
not on
expedite
our
a project?
side. In my proposal, I have roughly 12 weeks from the time that our proposal is signed to the date that we would put the project out for bids. I think we can do it faster than that, but
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
my
we can
initial.
get us right up into that February where we have to spend the money.
12 weeks would be September, October, November, if, you know, so.
Yeah.
They have December and January to do the work.
Yeah.
If we did that.
A lot of times the longest part, and you guys probably know this because of your recent projects that you've done, is just waiting on materials,
Sure.
right? Getting the work done, it can be fairly quick, but some of the lead times, depending on products that are specified, can drag out that construction period.
Just for the sake of concept, regardless of the size of the project, how do you view your participation in the bid package, bid process, your participation and how that all works smoothly,
Me personally or me as the firm?
the firm?
Well, depending on the cost estimate, if it's under 150,000.
Well, actually, I double check that, if it's, our policy says 300,000. Under
300,000,
300,000, if you quote, over 300,000, we put out.
right? So I think we'll be under that threshold. I, off the top of my head, I don't see anything that makes me think we.
Well, if you just said maybe not, I'd be like, whoa. Jeez.
They'd be really nice offices. So how I see that going is that we always put together a letter or an RFP. We would solicit bids or quotes from contractors. And so that, I think the nice thing and advantage about being under that threshold is that it's not publicly bid, so you can invite, preferred general contractors to bid on it. So we would put together the letter, we put together the drawings and specifications, and then send that out to that selected group of.
And then you would help evaluate the bids.
Yes, and then we would make a recommendation to you all once we receive those.
Anyone any questions for me?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think I can just unplug. I won't.
Yes,
say
you can.
anything.
You just
Okay.
unplug. Todd, you might turn it on. You'll have to do it twice.
Where's it at?
At the very top. There you go. Thank you. You're certainly welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Looks like you have to.
I think I'll take off, but I will follow with that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you for your,
Okay.
thanks for
Thank
your
you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Public meeting to review the 2026 budget, capital projects, and school bus replacement plan. It is recommended that the board approve, advertise the proposed 2026 budget, including the capital project plan and the school bus replacement plan as presented.
Okay, I sent you the budget review sheet in the board packet. We will have our public hearing on the budget. We'll have to upload that to Gateway, probably next week. We'll upload that to Gateway, then we'll have a public hearing on that in September. But just so you're aware, we're advertising approximately $12.4 million budget for next year. Last year, we were just a shade under that, 12.392. So a little bit higher this year. Our tax rate that we'll advertise will be 1.2888. Of course, that'll come down once the LGF makes their cuts, which it normally does. Last year, we advertised 1.5216, ended up at 0.9877. So it'll come down quite a bit as far as that goes. Bus replacement plan, our plan goes out for 5 years. However, we're this coming year, which is the one we're most worried about, we're going to replace bus number 22, which is one of our 14 passenger white buses. Now, as long as bus 22 is functioning properly, we'll hang on to that. Those white buses really are nice, especially in the spring when we have those things going on, but that's the one we're planning on replacing. And then in 2027, we're planning on replacing bus 14, which is one of our yellow buses. So unless something interesting changes, that's this year and the following year too. So.
And we're not really having any issues with those small buses.
We're not having any issues with small buses, knock on wood. And we still have bus 18, which we replaced last year, and it still runs well for us too. But when we start having issues with it, we'll probably take it out of service. But right now, nothing major on it. So the more we have there, just gives us more options as far as that goes. Our capital projects plan is just more placeholders as we develop it. Some of the things that we're looking on doing for capital projects next year will be we did the parking lots at the elementary school this past year. We're going to look at doing the parking lots up here at the high school and the superintendent's office next year. We're also going to look at replacing some carpets, specifically the elementary office, elementary library, maybe doing some painting in the elementary office as well. And then up here at the high school, when we did the remodel of the office, Mrs. Ralston's, Mrs. Jones, the nurse's office didn't get painted or new flooring, so we'd like to upgrade those. Maybe do some new furniture in those offices there, possibly some new furniture for Mrs. Lori at the elementary school too. And then also looking at new flooring in the band room, whether that's carpet or some tile, because yet to be determined, but that's kind of the major projects we're looking at as far as this summer. Okay, I did forget one too, looking at replacing 3 classroom HVAC units. Probably the 3 units that haven't been touched in a while, which would be Mr. Willer's room, Mr. Russell's room, Mr. DeWitt's room. Looking at those and maybe looking at putting a drop ceiling in those rooms as well. They still have the popcorn ceiling on top. Everybody else has a drop ceiling. So looking at those things is the kind of the priority things right now for next year. Some small projects, with the one big project being the HVAC units. So
Any motion?
So moved.
Second. Vote.
who seconded it? I'm sorry.
Barry.
Gary, thank you.
6-0. Accounts payable vouchers, payroll claims. It is recommended that the board approve accounts payable vouchers from July 16th through July 31st, 2025, and from August 1st through August 19th, 2025. Also to approve payroll claims from August 1st and August 15th, 2025, and to make payroll on August 29th and September 12th of 2025. Motion. Bill? Second? Kristen? Vote. 6-0. To approve contractual bus drivers accounts payable for the above dates.
So, second.
Very. Vote. 5-0-1. Financial report.
Teresa's not here tonight. She wants you for being provided. So.
Straight out.
The only thing she wanted me to point out was that our curriculum materials is less than last month because we paid for the math textbooks, the social studies textbook for the junior high, and for the ag textbooks we bought over the summer. So we made those first payments on those. So that's why it came down a little bit too. We're in the process of looking at what curriculum materials we're going to purchase for next year. But that's why it's a little bit lower than it was last year. Unless anybody else has a question, that's the only thing she asked me to point out. And you see the transfer amount is there as well.
Any questions? Nope. Okay. The recurring transfer from the education fund to the operation fund, to reimburse operation fund for July 2025 expenses that are not allocated to the students' instruction and learning was made July 31st, 2025 in the amount of $80,469.91. Employment, it is recommended the board approve Kristen Burris as the Orleans Elementary Teaching Assistant for the 2025-2026 school year, 29 hours per week, paid per the non-certified pay scale effective August 1st, 2025. Motion. Vote. 6-0. It is recommended that the board approve Missy Shaw as the Orleans Elementary School Teaching Assistant for the 2025-26 school year. 29 hours per week, paid for the non-certified pay scale effective August 1st, 2025. Motion? Bill?
Second.
Second by Jonathan. 6-0. It is recommended that the board approve the following coaches for the 2025-26 school year. You read all these or?
No,
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Bill. Second. Kristen. It is recommended that the board approve Sue Burton to be paid for 91.5 hours for the summer work completed, working on the corporation's ECA medical plan. Motion.
What's that amount?
Hmm?
What's that amount?
I believe her hourly rate, I don't have that at the top of my head. Oh.
I'm just curious what we're approving here.
$19.50 times 91.
And this was all for work on the medical plan?
Yes. Yeah. She didn't think that she got all the medical bags
Yeah.
ready. She had all the forms ready and all those things. And
As a general rule, not necessarily for this, but if we have something like this, do we get an estimate of how many hours they think it'll take before we have them
yeah,
proceed?
this was what was new, so we didn't get estimate this year. And it shouldn't have to be done in the future.
But generally speaking, we would,
Generally speaking,
we
yes,
would do that, yeah.
This was kind of one of those things that
Okay.
snuck up on us.
Gotcha.
So with some of the discussion we had, she's developed a plan. We've informed our folks
Yes,
how we're gonna do this,
yes,
and we're good to go. So,
yes. I'm sure there'll be a hiccup or two along the way, but yes, she's done a lot of work, making sure everything.
You might want to speak to that.
No, not at all.
She's done a heck of a job. I mean, she has. She's really updated those bags, some of the like classroom things and even for like sporting teams and things.
Yeah, she really helped us.
Man, they were woefully, it had been a long time since they had been up to.
We didn't have one
Right.
for the
right,
first 3 years I was
right.
here.
And really and truly, she has done a heck of a job. Yeah, for sure.
on the coaching staffs, is there gonna be one designee that's responsible for seeing that goes where it needs to go and is,
We have to the head coach to make sure it gets with them. Yes.
then he just,
Are you talking about the bag or the plan?
The bag.
Because we had that new plan that
Yes.
she was presented.
Yes.
And I don't want to get off topic here, but I would make the assumption that the athletic director will enforce that with the coaches
It'd
to
be-
make sure that
it'd be-
that's followed.
It'd be a tag team, I mean, the nurses.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
too, Yes.
Yeah, from the
Yes.
coach's
Yes.
perspective, that really is, the athletic
Yes.
department will.
Correct, yes.
all I was getting at, it's always nice to have one person responsible
Mhm.
and they know where it's at, and that's all I.
And she's coordinated that with, and she let the coaches know where she's going to go. They know when they run low on stuff, you come, she's told them. Come see her when she checks if you're off too. And, yeah.
A motion by Keith, second. Bill. Vote. 6-0.
Because it's getting ready to rain, I was told, see if his windows are down.
Did I leave my charges
Too late now.
down? I think the answer is no, but as soon as I say that, my window probably cracks this way.
Billy sort of,
Won't get too wet.
well, no, 5:30.
It is recommended that the board approve the updates to the sports staff handbook for the sub-pay rates listed below. Teachers not licensed, $75 a day. Teacher licensed, $85 a day. Teachers, Orange County School.
Orleans Community Schools.
Community school,
Our
retired teachers, $95 a day. Cafeteria would be $10.50 an hour. Custodial, $10.50 an hour. Nurse, RN, or LPN, $16 per hour.
Just continue to work on trying to get those up, competitive with those around us.
Are they competitive?
Some of them are, I mean, our custodial still needs some work, to be honest, but it's a sub. Our sub pay is pretty recommended.
Motion by Barry. Second. Keith. Vote. 6-0. It is recommended that the board approve the following individuals as sponsors for the 2025-26 school year. Jennifer Hall, High School Yearbook, Mark Wheeler, High School Athletic Director. Motion, Mike.
So moved.
Jonathan. Second. Anybody? Christie, okay, Ken. 6-0. Amendment, it is recommended that the board amend item dated 25-26 or -26-6. The following individuals as corporate drivers pay per the non-certified pay scale. Joe Chisholm is AM vocational driver. Paul Stroud is AM vocational driver. Kelly Hawk is the preschool driver. And Sunshine Clemens is the special needs driver. Have a motion? Second by Brady. Oops. 6-0. Field trip request. It is recommended the board approve the field trip request as presented.
This is for the FFA to attend the state convention in Indianapolis. It's an overnight trip. That's why it needs board approval.
So motion. Barry, second by Jonathan. Votes 16. Adult meal prices. It is recommended that the board approve the 2025-26 adult meal prices below. Breakfast at $2.95, lunch at $5.25.
That's as low as we can make it according to federal and state guidelines for our adults.
A motion?
So moved.
Jonathan, second by Bill. 6-0. Quotes, it is recommended the board approve the quote from BSN Sports for a new discus net in the amount of $10,900 to be paid from the First Mortgage Bond Series. Are they talking about when they move it? Is that what they're-
Yes.
Okay.
It's a new debt.
Motion? Bill? Second by Christie. 6-0. It is recommended that the board approve the quote from BSN Sports for the weight room platforms in the amount of $5,802 to be paid from the First Mortgage Bond. Motion? Christie?
Second.
Jonathan? 6-0. Dual credit social study. It is recommended that the board approve the agreement with Mike Kidry to provide virtual dual credit social studies instructions as presented.
We partnered with Vincennes University last year and had an instructor who's credentialed to Vincennes to provide this. We no longer provide it to Vincennes, we provide it to Ivy Tech now. Helps us with their Indiana College Core. You offer so many courses, kids can get their associate's degrees. So we have more courses with Ivy Tech. So we don't have anybody on our staff that's credentialed to teach dual credit. So Mr. Tipper is a teacher at Ability who teaches dual credit. So he is putting together virtual lessons. The kids will work through. Adam Brown will oversee that. The kids are here in the class doing that, but he provides the lessons instruction so they can earn their dual credit through Ivy Tech. So it's what we pay are currently those teachers that teach Cosmos kids. It's $100 per student per semester. We estimate it'll be between $4,000 and $5,000 cost to corporation for the year, which is a good benefit for our students to get that dual credit. You know, so
Is there potential for that to be, since it's already kind of virtual, would there be any need for it through Cosmos?
it's a possibility if it goes well. Mr. Tipper is willing to do that. Yeah, absolutely. It'd be more work on him, but it'd probably more funds too. So.
Have a motion by Barry, second.
Yeah.
Keith. Vote. 6-0. Second reading, first reading of the most recent proposed new revised and rescinded corporation policies.
We'll do the second reading on those in September.
Okay.
It was the first, with the first one we started in July. This is the second one I sent you guys. We just start for this meeting.
And the second reading is the one you're saying in September?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
yeah. Well, the second reading is what we're doing tonight.
Right.
For the next motion.
Okay.
The first reading was the second batch I sent you. I guess I should say it that way.
Okay. So I need to read that second reading? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Second reading of the proposed new revised and rescinded corporation policies.
Does anybody have any questions on any of those policies? Okay, very good.
Corporation policies. It is recommended the board approve new and revised and rescinded corporation policies. Get a motion? Bill? Second, Barry. Vote 6-0. Invoices are recommended that the board approve the July invoice from Site Logic in the amount of $4,021.48 to be paid from the First Mortgage Bond Series 2023.
So moved.
Jonathan,
What is
What
this
is
for?
This is for the continued work that they've been doing as part of the project. It's just, they've reached that phase where this is the amount. We finished everything in the STEM room, that wall was taken out. That's all finished. The room that was added in the basement as well, that wall, we're still waiting on a key cord and a little bit of baseboard. The cipher is ordered, it's not here yet. In the weight room, like I mentioned, we have a date, we're waiting on that front door, an emergency light, and then, for example, the site work, cipher, so they ought to be here this week, weather permitting, to do the site work out here. So we're definitely in the home stretch. They're just, it's for their oversight, and everything.
Right.
so the site work outside, it's basically just grass seed? Is that what-
Grass, but a little bit of gravel for drainage as well.
Okay.
When the drain comes out.
Second by Bill? Vote. 6-0. It is recommended to the board, that the board approve the July invoice from ECS Southeast LLC in the amount of $10,955.50 for tests and work completed as part of the weight room project at the Orleans Junior High School.
Okay.
Barry?
Second.
Second by Keith. Vote. 6-0. Payment applications. It is recommended that the board approve the payment applications from Seaford Construction in the amount of $198,187.15 for the work completed as part of the weight room project at Orleans Junior High School. Bill? Second, Jonathan. Vote. 6-0. Team Peace. It is recommended that the board approve the memorandum of understanding with Team Peace to provide mindfulness and resiliency instructions to students for the 2025-26 school year as presented.
Just another one-year agreement. We've been with them for several years. They come in. Majority of the work they do is the elementary school. They do come up and do some things up here, the junior, senior high school, but the majority of the work's done in the elementary. Get positive feedback from our teachers. They say it really helps. They really like this program, and students can opt out if they don't want to participate, but most do, and it's been a benefit to us.
Motion. Bill? Second. Kristen? Vote. 6-0. Cedar Hills invoice. It is recommended that the board approve the invoice from Cedar Hills Credit Union in the amount of $1,006 for the coverage of the 2019 John Deere Gator.
So now this got left off, the proposal they sent us. I'm not sure how, it was part of our information we sent them, but it got left off, so.
For coverage, you mean like an extended warranty or something, or what are we talking about with coverage?
Insurance.
Oh, insurance.
Insurance, yeah.
That has been used before, right?
Yes, it has. It has, yes. Well, no, it's been used on the Gator, not this Gator.
No, that's what I mean. A different one.
So that's why when you throw around boa.
Yeah, well, each piece of equipment needs to be listed, and that wasn't, for some reason, it was left off. I know it was, when we submitted to them, I'm not sure how it got left off.
That's high enough.
Yeah, I think,
So moved.
Jonathan. Second.
Second.
Barry. Vote. 6-0. Superintendent's report.
After our Cosmo meeting the other day, the three superintendents and actual kid met with Jordan Pridemore. Jordan's a consultant who does strategic planning. The Mr. Tanksy has experience working with the past. She recommended her. So we met with her, kind of tried to relay to her what we thought the boards kind of said, what the superintendents kind of thought we wanted. She's going to put together a plan, kind of a plan of action. And then and she's supposed to be sending us some dates. And then as soon as she sends us those dates, I'll send them to you guys. And we'll meet. We'll try to get sooner rather than later on that. And that we would get together so you guys can kind of hear her proposal and she can hear from you what she would like. And then we can decide if we want to move forward with her for strategic planning. So just in all transparency, she said, depending on what we choose to do, it could be as much as $60,000 total, which would be $20,000 a piece. But we probably wouldn't have her do everything that, that she lines out. We probably pick the things that most relevant to what we need, but it is going to be a cost. I would say bare minimum is probably 10 to 15,000 per school corporation, but we'll see. And maybe something we don't feel like we want to do, but again, we need to do some strategic planning, so maybe worth it. I want you guys to know that number up front that she shared with us, and I will, as soon as she sends those dates, I'll share them with you. We can hope to find one that works for everybody, and we can get that done.
So prior to that strategic planning, are all 3 school districts committed?
It's my understanding from talking to their 2 superintendents that yes, they want to move forward. Yeah, with the strategic planning and possibly yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I sent the text message out, I believe, about, or maybe put a weekly update about the state championship sign. The town got the approval from NDOT to put those out. I think it was 24 by 30 is the size of the signs. If I remember correctly, what Daniel said, but I have to look at the text exactly. So those should be going up soon. We are going to put a light in the gym. Huddleston's Ben Huddleston's going to do that for us. It's just kind of dark in there. There's no lighting from the state championship sign, so we want to make sure we can see that. So we're going to put that up there. And then I didn't know if you guys, we have our academic state championship signs down here in the building. I didn't know if we wanted to add something for the boys basketball state championship sign down there or not. You guys can be thinking about that if you like. But and if not there, if we want to reserve that for the academic team, we can possibly do that somewhere else too. But anyway, if you guys want to be thinking about that, that's something we will do. Definitely put that on school property. Before you leave tonight, I've got my evaluation for you. This is the evaluation that you'll fill out. I also make copies of the rubric. For those of you who've done before, it's the same thing. But for those who might be new to it, you just have to look at each category and each indicator and just rate me effectively. To bring that back in September, I will compile that information. And then in October, you guys can meet without me and discuss where you want to rate me and discuss my contract. And then in November, we would have public hearing on the superintendent's contract. And in December, you can choose to renew or not renew the contract. So that's kind of the timeline of that. So I'll hand those out before we leave tonight. And then our enrollment currently at the elementary school, this is without pre-K because pre-K doesn't count for our ADM for state funding. We have, as of this afternoon, 484 at the elementary. And then we have 373 at the junior senior high school for a total of 857. We were 8 last year. Well, I don't remember where we were at last fall off the top of my head, but in February we were 848. So of those 857, 211 are transfers, which is 24.62% of our student population. And we do have 17 preschool kids that we do get some funding for, but just not as part of ADM. So
Is that a high, I mean, I don't know if they track this, but is that a high percentage for transfers for school corporation?
yes,
We're on the high end.
yes.
I would think so.
There's that corporation report that I shared before.
Yeah.
We're on the positive side.
I knew we were, yeah.
Overall, last time I checked, we were 100, I believe. So yeah.
Is that transfer number fairly steady from last year?
Yeah. It's about a quarter. We've been about a quarter for I think since I was principal.
Oh.
Down at the elementary. So it's been at least 5, 6, years at least.
Yeah.
We've been about a quarter of transfer students. So
Interesting. Okay.
that's all I've got. Let's see my questions.
Principal's report.
Mr. Davis?
It was rough being the guy that has to go last. You guys get glassy eyed. No, I'm just kidding. Here, take a just pass it around. You're welcome. All right. Do I? Okay. All right. Well, first off, I just want to start, and I mean this. Thank you. I feel pretty blessed to be able to serve here, so thank you very much. I really feel like we've had a good start. I feel like we've had a really, really good start to the school year. I think we just it seemed like we just came right in and just kind of took right off where we were before we went home. So I really appreciated that. The beginning of the year, and I don't know if you realize this or not, we've already got in 11 days. 25% of the first 9 weeks is almost in books. And, at the beginning of the year, there's a lot of information, so we have a lot of meetings. We've met with middle schoolers, we've met with high schoolers, we've met with seniors. We've met with kids who were athletes who wanted, who would be in the random drug testing program. We've just had a lot of meetings. I met with the gentleman from the Indiana Testing Inc. And I signed a contract on 8/11, and we're ready to resume our random drug testing again. And as you know, we worked pretty hard on that to try to shore that up a little bit and maybe avoid some of the problems that we've had in the past. And that will certainly be our goal. We pushed out a lot of communications to parents. One of the things I wanted parents to know is that we had consolidated the handbooks and that we had edited the handbooks. If you don't know if somebody doesn't tell you. So we sent out communication, and we also put a pop-up on our, when you navigate our website now, you can't navigate the website unless you navigate the pop-up, which was telling people that, that we had updated the handbooks. And not only did we update them, but we consolidated them. So, you start out with the student parent handbook, then you go to the guidance handbook, then there was the athletic handbook, and then the extracurricular and co-curricular handbook. So, we're not making copies of them, so we might as well make them easy to find, right? So we pass that information out via, email and other avenues. We also put that on our social media. Okay. I think sometimes when I do things that you might end up hearing about, I think I should tell you about that, so you'll know if you end up hearing about them. So I sent out letters to families who have students who were chronically absent last year. Okay. And we will also reach out to those families to try to meet with those families in person. And the purpose of that is not to try to tell them how to parent. The purpose of that is to try to figure out what we can do to help them get their kids here to school, right? And so I want you to know if you're something like, oh, the principal said, yes, we did. And we hope to meet with them. And we hope to figure out what we can do. If we can figure out a way to get that chronic absenteeism rate down, then I think it behooves us to try to do that. And I think that is also one of our school improvement goals. So I'm hopeful that, as many bright and articulate people as I have on my staff, that perhaps, we can come up with some ideas as to how to encourage kids, or maybe even provide rewards or incentive, right? Maybe we can, like Renaissance programs. And, I don't know, you may have heard of some of these programs, you may not. And I'm not saying we need to adopt every aspect of those programs, but there probably are some good items that are inherent in those programs that would encourage kids to come to school. And so that's one of the things we're going to be working on. I've met with my math teachers, my upper level math teachers. One of our goals is to increase our SAT scores. So we've looked over the data for Orleans. We've talked about what we can do moving forward in terms of intervention and remediation. I've met with my iLearn English, and I've met with my iLearn Math. And we are strategizing and working together. The first meeting was, hey, let's dive into the data and see what the data tells us. But we need to implement a plan. We need to regulate, and we need to make sure that we're following the plan. And we need to figure out ultimately whether the plan was successful or not. But we have engaged and started that process. So I want you to know that we're not, good Lord willing, as long as I'm here, we're not going to make a school improvement plan and then not do anything with it. Okay, we need to actively pursue it. We put a lot of effort into making it. And we can always get better. I don't care who we are or what stage of life we are. If you hear something about this, I thought I would throw it in. It's not a big deal, but I did change something this year. All of our middle school students eat in the cafeteria. And it was kind of funny because I sensed that some people weren't necessarily for that. And then about 3 or 4 days in, it was like, oh, this is a great idea. And I was like, yeah, you don't take credit until people like it, right? But it is working out really, really well. And it's been a good thing. We've conducted 2 emergency drills so far. We had a fire drill and a lockdown drill already. And then I just want to share one other thing with you. And it's up to you. I mean, and I get it. Your time is valuable. I have my own Google Classroom. I give you the join code right there on item number 11. If you want to know what I'm sharing with my staff, if you want to know what I'm telling my staff, it's all there. Okay. One of the things that I have done to try to maximize time is I do a lot of recordings, and they're there. And some of the PD that I'll be sharing with my staff. You know, I've been in this game for 33 years, and when you go from the classroom to administration, you realize who's teaching the teachers, right? And so going from, I'm still teaching, but I'm not teaching adolescents anymore. In some cases, I'm trying to teach, adults. And that doesn't mean that they're not well-intentioned people. It doesn't mean that some of them are probably smarter than me, and some of them may have better policies or better strategies than me. But every once in a while, you find out that, even teachers need to be taught a little bit, especially when it comes to subjects like grading or grading practices and things of that nature. So if you go into that Google Classroom, it's there. It's there. I'm pretty transparent. So check it out if you want. If you don't, I understand that too. But if you want to know what I'm telling the staff and the expectations that I have for the staff and some of the items that I'm asking my staff to do, it's all right there. Okay. You guys have any questions?
Did you implement the cell phone out of the classroom stuff?
We did.
How's that going?
We are implementing well. So what we are doing this year is we have gone to the sleeves, right? And I'll compliment Murphy Wheeler. So I was out in the hallway the other day, and during passing time, and all of a sudden here come these seniors into Murphy's room. Now, we all know if you're going to find a group of students at the school who might be a little difficult, it would probably be a senior who thinks, I'm at the end of the road here. Sure. And I watched all those. I can't remember exactly what he said to them, but I saw them all going over, and I saw them all putting their phones in their cell phone sleeves. Right now, if a kid says, "I don't have my phone," obviously we're not going to search them, right? But I do think that one of the things we're going to see from that bill is I think we're going to see fewer kids asking to go play on their phone during class time, right? Because right or wrong, there were times last year, and this also falls upon us, right? So if I see it this year, I've already made it very plain, we'll treat it differently than we did last year. But, I might be walking down the hallway and I see a kid come out of the room. Well, as soon as the kid came out of the room, I saw the phone get fished out of their pocket, right? Well, I with all due respect, I have serious doubts they needed to use the bathroom. They probably just want to text their sweetie, right? So I think we'll alleviate a little bit of that by using those sleeves. We've implemented that this year. Sure. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Anything else? Hey, incidentally, for what it's worth category, I thought he did a pretty good job there tonight, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And do I get one of these favors?
Sure. Absolutely.
I don't know if I get one.
And also, I thought you guys, and I mean this, and I know you, I hope you know me well enough by now. I know I'm pretty transparent, but also if I don't say something if I don't mean it. I thought you guys did well too. It's funny because I was sitting there and I was watching those boards, right? And I left thinking, man, I'm glad I don't work for that. You know what I mean? I bet there was one fella, he seemed a little aggressive, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about too.
One thing I'll share, since Ms. Boyer is here, we got our final IRE results. Last year, I think we were 78% passing. This year, after all said and done, 88% passing. So those teachers, third grade teachers or title teachers, they really did a nice job. And I think the plan that they have in place in there, well, that was good. So just really, tickled with what they did. And the kids, obviously, too. They're the ones that actually took the test. So, but our teachers did a really good job. They really focused. Should be commended. So, I wanted to mention that too.
Late items. Fairbanks Education Service, it is recommended that the board approve the participation agreement with Fairbanks Education Services to assist in obtaining federal reimbursement for the Medicaid service provided. Motion, Bill. Second. Barry. 6-0. It is recommended the board approve the quotes below from HFI for the equipment repairs in the elementary and senior high school kitchens to be paid from the First Mortgage Bond Series 2023. Can you read what they are, elementary and high school now?
Sure.
The elementary school was $8,950 and the senior high school was $4,400.
14,000.
Or 14,000, I'm sorry, $14,400.
We knew what you meant.
Motion.
Second.
Jonathan. 6-0. Bounds Flooring Incorporated, it is recommended that the board approve the quote from Bounds Flooring Incorporated in the amount of $2,779.92 for the new flooring in the technology director's office at Orleans Junior Senior High School to be paid from the First Mortgage Bond Series 2023. Motion. Your question, Barry. Second. Keith. Vote. 6-0. Resignation. The following resignation is to be recorded in the minutes. Bill Crane is a school board member effective August 19th, 2025.
No, you don't expect me to go through that without saying anything, do you? So I do have something to say to the board for this. So, as you all know, that my job moved me out of state to, so I can no longer be on the board, but I really want to thank everyone. I went into this, really not sure what to expect. I had no agenda, and I really think that Orleans is in great hands. It'll be 40 years this year that I graduated from this place in 1986. And I swore when I left here as a senior going to college, I would never come back to this town. And I came back about 4 or 5 years ago, and I have the privilege of working in an organization that we work in 23 of the top 25 cities in this country. So I deal with people across this country every day. And I sing the praises of Orleans to everybody I know. And you would not believe the envy that people in these cities that live in these big communities, we'll call it some very blue states, the envy that they have, the videos I send, they check up on the school board minutes now, some of them, but mostly it's if I say anything, but I think, and so I just have really, it's been a privilege for me, and I encourage this board, and this is something I've said before, is to really get these students engaged. It's come up several times today, but I had intended to say this. The Cosmos meeting the other night really gave me a lot of hope. We as a board, as a superintendent and administration, we were the leaders in that. And I really would encourage this group to continue that, take the lead, drive that it keeps the students engaged. And this world is changing. And a lot of us in this room, not necessarily in all aspects, think it's for the better. But it's our job to get these students ready for that world. And the more we can engage them, I'm a big believer in extracurricular activities. I would hope that at some point, 100% of our students are in something, math club, basketball, FFA, and we should encourage and celebrate the soil judging county champs as much as we celebrate the basketball team winning the county. And so everything that we do to get a student engaged is just helping that student in life. And so I encourage this board to continue to do that. And I'll be back in about 5 years. I might run again. So
I'll just say, we appreciate, having you on the board. I think you did a very good job. You will be missed. I think you brought a unique perspective, which I think was a welcome perspective. And, I for one appreciated everything that you did, and you will be missed. So, and when you're in town, visiting, come visit us too.
I'll be back for lots of basketball.
That's right, yeah. So, and we are, major streams, so.
Yes, yes. Well, I'll be watching, don't worry. I'm still hoping for comment section on the,
I'll be disappointed.
my grandson should be born in anytime in the next week and a half, so I'll be back quite often.
Okay, very good.
Appointed school board trustee. It is recommended that Heather Ross be appointed to the school board, or to the board of school trustee of the Woodlands Community School Corporation to fill the unexpired term of office of Bill Crane.
Last chance. You could still run.
Motion. Second? Christie?
Five.
I can't vote.
That's right.
I mean, I will if you let me.
Two hours. Sure.
It is recommended the meeting to be adjourned at 6:37 PM. Motion by Barry, second. Vote. 5-0.
I quit, remember.
That's right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.